Hello, TCI. Hello, Jonathan's Refuge, and all of our faithful followers and friends, and those following me on the my personal Facebook. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to go tonight and record the message. I can't make it to church tonight. I've got a meeting with a friend that's very urgent, and so the message. Let's get to it. It is about my wife, the first lady, and a bishop of our organization will be at the service for those going, by the way. But let's talk about life. What is life? The caption said, life is a journey. We all hear this all the time. What does it mean if it's a journey? Well, here's what I wonder. Are you planning your life? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Are you planning your life? Is your life being planned out by you, or are you just reacting to what comes at you? Let's slow down for a second. Let's listen to what I just said and let's think about that. Are you planning your life, or are you just reacting to what comes at you? See, what I've learned in life is 98% of people that I know react to what happens to them. About 2% plan their life and don't wait for it to happen to them to react. Many times I've seen people who, they always want to start a business. They always want to start a business. They never start a business. They always want to start the business. They're always talking about it. It's been a dream their whole life. They've worked it out in their head. They got the money kind of put aside. I don't know. And then somehow they lose a job. They get fired. Something happened to them. Now they have to react. And they jumped in and started the business and pulled the trigger. And then over the next few years, their company, like, all struggle in the beginning, and there's hard times and lean times and good times, but they made it. And did they make it because they planned it? Not at all. They made it because they had no choice. They reacted to something that happened to them, be it getting fired or something like that, or losing their job or a divorce. We have to be careful. You don't want to live a life where the majority of your life you're reacting to what's happening. You want to be taking and making life happen for you. And that only happens if you're planning your life. Many people will hear wise people say, well, I just live for today. I'm here today. I don't know what's coming tomorrow, so I don't worry about it. And it's not here. So right now I'm at this point in my life, at this junction right here today, in this location where I'm sitting in this office, and I can't do anything about that. That's where I'm at. Now, some people say, well, then they're never planning. That is so not true. The wisest people plan. They plan their future. They plan their life. But does that life, if we're here, right here, and you're trying to get up here, is that line going to be always a straight line, or might it zig up, zag, sideways, zag up a little, then maybe come up and, oh, we just missed each other again. Oh, we're off a little, bang. So you're trying to get up here to this point, and you thought it would just be a straight shoop, or let me get my fingers to go the right way, straight shot, right? But it wasn't, because life is a journey. And no matter how much you plan a journey, I promise you, things are going to come up. I'm planning a journey right now. We're down to about 7 weeks. I leave for the Pacific Crest Trail hike. That is a through hike where I walk 2,650 miles from the U.S. Mexican border in a town called Campo. And I go all the way up the mountain range, the San Juancitos, the San Bernardino mountain range, go down, drop into the Mojave Desert, do 500 miles in the Mojave Desert. The temperatures will be between 104 and 108 degrees, and I got to be out there for 500 miles. I'm going solo by myself, so I have to pack everything, including all the water that I can get, food, supplies, and things of that nature. And then after that, I get to the Sierra mountain range. And the Sierra, we're going to go up that. And then you're talking about going up to the one mountain we're going to go to, Whitney, which is the tallest in the 48 states. That's 14,000 14,494 feet. So I'm going to go up there, and then I'm going to average be walking about 10,000 feet in the air, because I'm just going to stay up on top of this huge mountain range as I go across the Sequoia into Yosemite, and then heading up to Tahoe, and then coming down past Shasta, going all the way up to the Oregon border, and then shooting up the center of Oregon all the way up to Three Sisters and all of that, through Hood, stopping at Hood, summiting Hood, coming down, going up, continuing on the Cascade Mountain Range, going up side of Mount Adams, right along the side of it, going to Mount Rainier along the side of it, keep on trucking all across the passes, Snoqualmie Pass, Stevens Pass, all the way until I hit Canada. I have to plan everything. You have to plan out food supplies, where they're getting mailed to, who's going to be there to pick them up. What happens if the food doesn't show up, or someone steals the food, or something happens? You got to have a backup plan, because you're living with nothing and you're in the middle of the wilderness. So that's the journey that I'm about to undergo. So I'm planning with every scenario that we can. I've got certain people are going to come down and visit me 2 different times is what I was looking at. And so once in California, I'll have my wife and my best friend and one of my climbing partners, 2 of my climbing partners, I'm sorry, 2 of my favorite climbing partners. And we're going to go climb Mount Whitney. So they'll hook up with me. I get to see my wife for one night, sleep in a bed instead of the ground, and get a shower. You know, you won't be able to shower for 1 to 2 weeks at a time, and you only have one set of clothes to go through. And so this exciting adventure, it's not going to go the way you plan. It's not going to go the way I plan. I don't know if I'll even be able to do the 2,650 miles, to be frank. But I'm going to plan it. Now, the other thing I got to consider is there's obstacles that can come up. The wildfire season will be in the peak season when I'm out there in the Northern California range, which quite often Northern California, Oregon, and Washington on an annual basis gets these big fires lately. And it seems like every year there's a bunch of them. Now, some of them are small and they stop them, but the problem is they shut down the trail. So then I might have to go walk 500 miles around just to get to the other upper end of the trail. But then once I get to the top, I still got to come back when that fire is out, at the end of my trip, and walk through that section if I have to make up for it, to make sure I can say I walked the whole trail. So there's so many obstacles. You're going to go, and there's going to be snow. This is probably my favorite one. Now, when you're out following this trail, the PCT as it's called, it's a path. People walk on it. On an average, 50 people a day leave to start the PCT. There are thousands who start the PCT. There are only a few hundred that finish it. And so when you get to the path, you see it. There's stones on the side. It's been walked so many times that it's an easy path to follow. You can even look to the next mountain and see the path. Like, oh, there's the trail. See there? We're going to walk zigzag up and switch back up, summit over, continue, switch back, and so on. But when you get to the snow, it's different. See, the snow covers everything. So even in the high Sierra, there's going to be snow. And when you get to a snow path, you don't see the line anymore. There's only 2 things you see. Nothing, because it's snowed since anyone walked through it, so you don't know where to go. You think you know where the line is. And most people don't bring a GPS, like a Garmin GPS. I bring a 3D Garmin GPS color screen, and it literally will beep and tell me, beep, 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 beep. That tells me I actually am off the path by about a yard or 2. So if I go more than a yard or 2, which is 3 to 6 feet, that thing's going to tell me I'm off my path. It is a guiding post. It is a pillar of light in my life, that machine. But what if the machine's dead because I haven't had a chance to recharge it, or the solar power recharging thing I'm bringing didn't work, or it broke? What do you do? Oh my. Well, I got a compass. I know how to gauge, how to figure out what to do with the compass. I understand that. I understand I have a paper map. I've got that. And I know roughly where I'm headed. I've studied this and watched every video and documentary on it. I have the markers in my head visualized, but that doesn't matter. Things are going to happen in my life on this trail. There's going to be lightning storms. Well, when on certain areas, if you have nowhere to hide, that's a very scary thing. You have to leave your pack and separate from it because it does have metal in it, and that attracts lightning. You got to try to find a hole or under a rock that you might be able to hide because there's no other place to hide. And so all these little obstacles are going to come up. What am I going to do about it? Now I'm going to plan for it. And I'm going to say, okay, what if this happens? Then I got a plan for that. What if this happens? I have a plan for that. What about this? And then sometimes you plan for every angle and none of those happen. And then something happens and you're like, how did I didn't plan for that because I didn't see it. That's going to happen too in your life. It's going to happen. And you just have to do a couple things. Number one, if you plan most of your life, then you will not fail. I say plan most of it because a good portion of your life, it's up to you. You decide, where am I going to live? What am I going to do for a living? You got to plan these things. You don't just go, well, God will provide. That's foolish. God's sitting up in heaven saying, really? And there's a joke to that. And I've said it in the church before, so you've heard this. But there was a man, and he was down, and I say it's a joke. It's a sad thing that happened with the Hurricane Katrina. But this man was on a roof, or he was on his house porch, and the neighbor drove by and said, hey, I don't remember his name they used in the story, but we'll call him Carl. They said, hey, Carl, you heard the levee broke, right? It's the whole thing's coming down. We got less than a day until we're flooded. He said, yeah, I heard. And he goes, well, listen, man, I got this huge tractor trailer here. I can fill your house stuff in there. We can get you out of here with me. He said, nope, I already talked to God. And he said, he'll supply my needs. God will supply my needs. Next day, the flood came and the water was up to the porch, and a neighbor down the street came by and, hey, Carl, man, look, grab your most important documents like your papers, birth certificates, social security things, get in the boat. Let's go. I'll get you out of here. And he says, no, don't worry about it, my friend. It's all good. God will provide. God will provide. God's got me. He said he'll take care of me. Okay. Next day, the floodwaters are up to the top of the bottom of Carl's roof. So up to the rooftop. He's on the roof. A helicopter is flying above, and they're announcing on the speaker, they're going to put a guy down and they're going to get a basket and then take him out. And he waves him off, says, no, I don't need it. I don't need it. I'm fine. God's got me. He's going to provide. And the next day, the man drowned. Gets up to heaven and he walks up to God and he says, hey, what happened? You said you were going to provide. You said you were, and God just says, shut up. I sent one neighbor friend of yours with an 18-wheeler to load your whole entire house up. I sent another neighbor friend with a boat to get you and your most important documents out. I then sent, when you were at the end, a helicopter with a guy in a basket to get your life out of there so you wouldn't lose your life. And you didn't take it then. So listen to that story. That man God will take care of it. Well, God did. He sends people in our lives all the time. We just don't realize God put that person in our life. The neighbor was blind and didn't even see that was God bringing his friend over to help. It wasn't because the man was dumb. It wasn't because the man was purposely, taunting God kind of a thing. It was really a very foolish mistake that unfortunately I see happen like 9 out of 10 times with people. They just go, oh, well, yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, what happens when you can't figure it out? What happens when your jobs fire you? What happens to all that? How do you survive? You have to have plans. And so in your life, in your relationships, you're going to hit walls. There's going to be tough things to go through. My wife and me, my first marriage with my wife then, my ex-wife, it was very tough. We went through some horrible things that just still bring nightmares into me. My current wife, the first lady of TCI, an amazing woman. I'm blessed to have her in my life. But we, in the 4 years we've been together, have had fights. And it takes moxie. It takes strength to hold yourselves together and say it's because I think she's worth fighting for. And she says that I'm worth fighting for. So we fight for each other. And so this is important to understand in your business relationships with your bosses or your own career. We've got to be planning these things out. The journey, the end is not the key. It's the journey. We all focus on the end, me included. I'm the biggest one that focuses on the end. I'm always about, okay, let's get this mountain done and then we can go do another one. But I forget, I need to think about the journey, the process, and be present in every step and each breath. So as I walk 500,000 steps, that's 500,000 breaths. So I'm going to stop and take a breath and a step. One step, one breath. One step, one breath. And I'm going to be present for each of those activities, the step and the breath. I'm going to look around and take into consideration this beautiful place I'm going to be at, and the beauty of the sun rising and the sun setting, and the different birds and the rattlesnakes and the bunnies and the, all the different creatures, the deers, the bears, the mountain lions, the marmots, the bullfrogs, the frogs, you name it, the bees, the gnats, the mosquitoes. There's all of these things, and some of them are going to be amazing, and some of them are going to be painful. Rivers that you get to cross that are so dangerous they could sweep you down and kill you in a second. And yet, for a moment, you're taking this beautiful river breath in, going, look how beautiful that is. But then the next thing, it's like, oh God, I got to figure out how to cross this without dying. So it's all about the journey. So I don't want you to, when you're going through a tough time, I don't want you to like panic. I don't want you to sit there. David in the Bible did a really interesting thing when he would find himself in depression. You've heard me do this. He would open his shirt up and speak to himself. Oh, my soul, you will yet praise the Lord. I do my own version. When someone says, how you feeling? I'm fantastic. If I was any better, I could do a triple gainer off the roof and land it. That's not a fake statement. That is how I want to feel. And so I envision that in my head between these two ears. I then believe it in my heart. I then work to make that goal. Sometimes it happens and sometimes it doesn't. But in my mindset, I am fantastic. And this is how I've overcome all these health obstacles, by having a power of positive thinking with the power of positive action. You can't have positive thinking because positive thinking doesn't do shit for you. Excuse my French. But positive thinking with positive action, I can assure you, you are going to progress. And then if you throw a plan into that and you have a plan with positive thinking and a positive action, it's all but history then. You're going to have to adjust your course. There's going to be fires that are going to cut the trail off. Now you got to go around this mountain, find another road to walk up for 200 miles to be able to cut back through this mountain trail and then get to the other trail that you would have been still on. And that's life. It's got its ups and it's got its downs. It's got its mountaintops where it's lonely, but yet amazing that you're up there. And it's got its valleys filled with lush brush and rivers and foliage. And it's sometimes hard and difficult. And it's about growing down there because there's growth. And you get to the top, and just then you got to go back down to the valley again. So understand, I'm with you. I love you guys. There is no one answer that's right, except enjoy the journey one day at a time, but plan your life. Don't allow your life to be planned for you. I love you guys. God bless. I'll see everybody. If I can hit the buttons right, I can hit the finished.